So what's up? Small. About a day ago from today, maybe when this video gets uploaded, I created a Google form just talking in general about how we felt about the comp space and what people were thinking. And yeah, here I am making a little video on it because outside of that, I just want to give my own personal thoughts on the game. And I wanted to do this not just through like talking, but through like a little video like this. Nolan didn't want me making this video, but here I am. This is how I want to do this. But before I start this video off, I'd like to preface that this is not a like personal jab at anyone in the community or the staff who quite honestly worked their ass off to try and make this game playable for us. It's strictly a discussion, and yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Alrighty, so welcome to the Google form. I created this, and so I'm gonna go over the questions you put your username. So I gave people the option to pick from a multitude of options that I laid out, um, as well as being able to make their own answer, and then be able to explain and what steps people think that should be made. Before, however, I did this, I sent out this form privately to a couple people. That would be Dakota, Slemnish, Quern, Reddy, Corey, Paradigm, Remster, and Pulse, and Bounty as well. And so I'm going to go over the original first 10 or so responses that I got before delving into the rest of the communities. Um, but let's take a look real quick at the graph. So, reasons why did you quit the game? The overwhelming answers, two answers really, but the main answer is people did not like the build that was trying to be pushed. People did not like V7. Um, People felt that or that they were getting burnt out from playing too much. 12 people. People said SCL build was stale. People said the community was toxic and non-inviting. So let's just jump into individual responses real quick. So let's start at 1. The first person to give me a response was Paradigm, and he said that he did not like the build that was trying to be pushed. The community was toxic and non-inviting. He felt that the dev team was going in 1,000 different directions, focusing on what they individually thought would be cool, instead of addressing major issues and community concerns. So I told him, answer. And he said, the draw of PF in my mind has always been a focus on its individual talent. It's not as strategically deep as Valorant or Counter-Strike, and the team play is less cohesive than Overwatch or Rainbow Six. For a game that just allows you to run it down and shoot dudes, nothing's ever done it better. To that extent, the broken no recoil laser beams of V5 and SCL build were perfect. Sure, they were unfair, but they were so unfair and game breaking it paved the way for multiple avenues of skill expression differentiating top players from average ones in meaningful ways. V7 almost entirely got rid of that, nerfing guns, nades, and the impact of map knowledge. No issues with the community being toxic, but could have done more in terms of advertising. Not sure we do that because stylists won't support us, but if the game ever wants to succeed, it has to find a way to attract new players. Malui lists a couple of his suggestions, and I like Paradigm's answer a lot because in every in the version that everyone for the most part really enjoyed the game V5, the guns yes were broken, but we've gone through metas where things were extremely balanced out. We did pro rules, and that almost killed the game. No one was having fun doing that. Yeah, let's take a look at the next person here, Bounty. He did not like V7, too long in between seasons. Did not like the build we were playing on, and it took too long to start the season, which gave him the perfect reason to grind Valorant. Says that we should have rewards, season starting quicker, some better gun balancing. And on the topic of better gun balancing, actually, no, I'll get to that in a second. Corey says he was burnt out, didn't like the build that was being played. He said the build killed the interest. The community had to play the game. It shouldn't have been used till it was perfectly ready, but we used it regardless, and while it wasn't very good, say it's pretty solid now, but playing other FPS games to really killed any interest. Yeah, he says give it a reset period. And he thinks that V7 should be played and updated, hopefully. This person I never really got a username from, so I'm not entirely sure which person this was. but they said that they preferred V5 and they fumbled. I don't know what they can do now. Reddy says it was a mix of a lot of things, but mainly Reddy says that the community was reluctant to adapt and to change. And so he said the player input, at least from his perspective, player input was mostly ignored, only being taken in and implemented towards the end. There were a slew of completely irrational and unwarranted changes made throughout the preseason. The gameplay issues of prior seasons weren't properly addressed, such as nades, gun balance, and unfair spawns. And so I completely resonate with this, that the community was reluctant to adapt to change, but I can completely understand why the community is reluctant to change. That's because when we pushed out V7, it was honestly unfinished, unpolished, and it was nowhere near ready, especially after coming off of V5, which people were calling like the best state that this game has ever been in. For me personally, at least, I really couldn't understand how we could push a build where there were issues with the nades, issues with the map pool. We had to make and try a bunch of different maps out. And on top of that, just little quality of life things. The kill cam is really iffy still, if I'm correct. The last time that I played, I was still not getting the kill cam. And yeah, okay, sure. You should just know where you're getting killed from game sense. But the kill cam is something that helps less experienced players be able to accurately calm out. And especially for experienced players, you can calm exactly where people are to your team. Makes it a lot easier. And it's those little things that really add up. Sumner says everyone stopped playing. I would join the keys if they actually happened. Everyone else did not like V7 and stopped playing. Says, I don't know. I just play. Yeah, I feel the same about this too. I would play if the keys actually happen, but people are extremely dissatisfied with V7. And so people are just kind of sick of the game. Dakota says he did not like the build that was trying to be pushed, did not like V7. He said, we had V5, which was awesome sauce, and that got taken. Instead of keeping V5 with different sprites and shit, we decided to try and make our own build. It took so long to get even semi-enjoyable that the spark to play comp just evaporated. Dakota says that know when you have a good thing and people enjoy it, don't fuck it up because of egos and wanting to make something better than Stylus or whatever. Listen to the community instead of shit talking the people who agree with you. And as much and as blunt as Dakota is being, I couldn't agree more. If you take a look at V5 and how things were balanced, the entirety of the balancing was done by votes by the community. And I don't think it's fair to say that the balancing was necessarily unfair and unwarranted when it was us that voted for it. And look it, we voted for our own balancing and V5 was the most enjoyed state of the game yet. So I'm not really entirely sure, at least from the top, from staff and management really, what they kind of don't understand about that. Yeah. Epic says, I also put this in staff chat. I forgot to mention that. I put that in staff chat. Epic responded really quick. Did not like V7, burned out. He said, played every day for multiple hour sessions, got stale. He felt that the devs did not balance to what we wanted and push what they wanted, creating toxic gun metas that we tried to avoid in SCL build. Listen to your expert panel who knows and plays the game better. This person, I have a feeling, I'm not gonna say who it is, but like I definitely know who it is. He is a anti V7. Game is shit. Everyone blows dick. No one gives about the game. No one gives a fuck about the game. It's boring as fuck. Delete the server and move on from this wretched game. You could probably figure out who that is. All right, now we move on to people outside of the original 10. I know it says 10 out of 34, but one of the people didn't respond. So this person here, Synth, says did not like V7. He says the game isn't enjoyable. It's just a dead Roblox. It's just dead. Roblox be dying. PF be dying. I get too old for this. It's more of a personal thing. It's from Roman. Miss V5. Not fun anymore in general. Better games out there. Become a Valorant League or a friend server. And so from here on out, a lot of people give their different reasoning. Prince got banned. And so, I mean, yeah, you got banned, man. I don't really know what to say. Happy Pants says old competitive is 100% better. Yeah, a couple people didn't want to answer. I'll go over Teoki's though. Community stayed the same for multiple years in a row, along with the inability for any new gen to take part in competitive. Styles community is not into competitive games. It's the skill gap is so high. There are very little people who go positive. SEO build is a lost cause thanks to Stylus. I don't think I can expand upon that anymore. And burnout because I've been playing with the same people for 3 years now in the same game for 6. And so I'll just quickly go through these and I'll stop on certain players, but we can read through these. This guy just gave the entire history of a Klondike bar and the squat plug, whatever the fuck that is. Kind of got bored of SEO build, and V7 was just worse than that. I liked V5 a lot and enjoyed the way it was played. The maps, it was just perfect. V7 had remake maps, let's be honest, they were dog shit, and the guns were retarded. I don't know why we didn't use V5 balancing to start with. I feel like the devs were just doing their own thing and they weren't even playing the build like we were playing. It felt like it wasn't PF. I completely resonate with this because as much as you want to push V7, as much as you want to say that it's the same as V5, it's just not really, is it? I mean, you can say that the AK-105 or whatever is the G36K, but it's just not the G36K. You know what I'm saying? You could say that the M4A1 is the M16A3, but unless it's actually the M16A3, it's just not the M16A3. And you can't call V7 V5 because it's just not. League is cooked. No idea, not gonna lie. Reopen V5. Tell Styles to go fuck themselves. If they try to take it down, just leak the V5 file and we can play that. Bob says better things come about. Cat says he quit for other games, other players. Same repetitive gameplay, finding the same people. Ping and FPS were unstable. Banned from SCL, whoever that was. Envy. Times were good being in New Zealand. Drop Dopper says education. There isn't a motive to compete at all. So the new builds were in fact pretty cool. They couldn't replicate what SCL build had, which is why some players just quit because the game didn't feel the same. No, people just nitpick. Second, I believe the community is pretty toxic around inviting new players. Okay, I'd say SCL build would be great. As a build built around comp. Whether we do V7 or SCL, it won't track or change much. Second point might be impossible to do because because as we've all known, PF comp players are some of the biggest trolls now. This could be somewhat alleviated by forcing actual rules, but it's somewhat of a sensitive subject. Lack of motivation, participate in other than in development and balance testing. Says he needs to just do stuff outside of this. Koa says, fuck BF. Let's turn it to a poker server or switch to a new game. Jin says, focusing on IRL stuff. Unknown, but he says, I do appreciate the effort that you put into V7. Don't get me wrong, but shit strayed too far from actual PF. Yes. The maps as well. I get you want to improve them to make them playable, but most people just want to play. Last time I queued, if the map was an LE, people would yap. OGPF maps are just better. Don't force cookie cutter maps down people's throats or questionable remakes like the Suburban Black Site ones. Too many changes, too many people not caring and just wanting the normal experience. Again, the people behind V7 don't take this like you killed comp or something. If it wasn't for Shay being a total soy boy, we wouldn't have had this problem at all. Not only staying on V5, which most people would prefer, but V7 would have been way better. Basically, to sum up, not the experience me or most people want. Try hosting a main game queue, not sure about that. SEO build is too stale. Doubt playing it would bring that many people back. Pointman says toxic and less time to put into the game. Says that matchmaking is a little too taken seriously. Here's a talk from Pulse. Would have played if others wanted to, but for such a small community to prosper, there needs to be a group effort. We delayed the season for 2 months because of V7 being incomplete, and in my opinion, this is the reason the game died. I didn't enjoy V7 that much, so I would play once a week, others did the same. A lot of people just wanted to play the season. We didn't really care for V7, and a lot of us fell back in love with SEO build. Despite it being ancient, after a month since PFFL Season 2 ended, the game had practically died. The community often disagreed in many of the ideas or changes done to V7, which causes the community to be split. This isn't good because if half the community doesn't like something, the community is already small, you start to creep down the path of the game's eventual death. PF at its core should never die with its base mechanics, but if every map is viewed as shit, keep trying to change the game in unnecessary ways, it will fail. Overall, we made the same mistake that happened in SEL Season 3. Too long of an off season making changes that made the game boring, and lastly, shitty maps. Can't do much but pull out every couple of weeks to see if people are interested in not doing massive updating near maps, but the second one is extremely unrealistic. Elias says that he doesn't like V7. Didn't really quit, it's just no one else wants to play. He says, while I do think that SEL build is better than V7, it's tragic because of how much work they put into it. Get back to SEO builds. We can actually talk about the league and grow it since we never get any new end bombs because the build we are using is fucking classified information. I completely resonate with this because even though I'm in the expert panel, I just see little snippet videos of things that are being worked on, but I don't have a clear roadmap of anything. I don't actually know what's going on in the background with the developers or in the direction that they're trying to push this. It's kind of really interesting because you'd think that being on the expert panel, you'd get kind of at least an insight into what's being done, but I really am kind of left in the dark about a lot of things. I see customization on certain sites being worked on, but I don't know what direction they're trying to build. I don't know anything about maps, about guns being added. Kind of confusing. And that shouldn't be what's happening because this community is really small, and I don't see why we can't just be transparent with everyone. I think a public channel where devs can post what they're working on and get immediate critique and feedback from the community will not only save the devs a lot of time by just excluding stuff that people don't want, but also give players a more clear understanding of the way that this build is trying to be pushed. I'm talking about V7. All we play in queues is Koth and 3 maps, and then you tell the dude to play Mall KC once match day comes. Been playing comp for like 2 years, and I played KC like twice ever. Obviously in queues it's boring as hell, but an old VOD review of the match with commentary would be great for new players. A way we could get new players is make server announcements when they start, quick explanation of how they work. Actually, a quick video how queues work would be good since most people need it explained to them. Gun meta too, since SCL build is old. And yeah, that basically goes over the reasons why people are unhappy with the game. So essentially, the main overarching reason is that people are not fans of V7. And I think that they're totally okay to have that opinion. Obviously, no one asked for V5 to get shut down, but no one asked for V7 to be taken the way that it did. Originally, from most of the community's understanding, V7 was supposed to be as close of a replication of V5 as we could get, and I don't know, it seems that it strayed far from the path and it failed to upkeep with certain quality of life issues like the kill cam and nades. And yeah, I don't think it was the right time to try and push a new build upon the community in an off season when honestly, I'm sure that we all know, at least in the expert panel at least, that the build was not ready at all on release. As well as a lot of people have issues with the maps, me included. I understand that we kind of don't have a choice. Really, we have to play maps that, you know, we have to play maps that are not made proprietarily by stylists. We have to build and play maps that we create. And there's that growing phase and stuff like that, but a lot of them frankly just have a lot of flaws to them. Village plays really weird. Raid has some really questionable spawns as well. The warehouse recreation, as much as people want to say that the spawns are exactly the same, it's just certain things in the layout of the overall map. It's just different from original warehouse. And I'll say the same about campsite too, because as much as we want to say that campsite is an exact recreation of suburbia, it's just not. The back halves of each of the map, like the very, very backs of both sides of the map, are smaller. And that means whenever you get a spawn in the back, it's really, really fast to be able to take map control. Even though in like V5 or SCL build in suburbia, when you get spawned at the back, it takes you a little bit longer to rotate, and that little bit of time allows map control to be traded around to both sides of to both teams. At least for me, whenever I played campsite, it felt like a perpetual like 50-50 stalemate when it came to map control. You couldn't get anywhere on the map because even if you spawned in the back of the map, in the back corner of your spawn, it takes like 5 seconds to rotate up into your tramp. Whereas if you spawn in the very, very back in old suburbia, V5 suburbia, SCL build suburbia, you had to take a little bit of time to rotate around either to your mid house or go to your tramp and stuff like that. And I'm not going to say that it was done intentionally on campsite. I just think it's a little bit of an oversight. And these little oversights build up over time. And it creates a game that doesn't feel like PF anymore. V7 just does not feel like PF anymore. Yeah, that's basically a little underlying thoughts on this. I'm gonna quickly transition over towards what I think we need to do as a community going forward. So, to conclude, are not just things that the top, meaning the staff, expert panel, things like that, the devs need to work on, but there's stuff that us as the broader community also need to do. At least from the developers and from the top, we need to be more transparent. We can't leave people in the dark about things, especially in a community that's so tight knit. Why do you think I'm making this video? Because if I release the results to only the staff, then the entire community would never get to truly see what the results were. All of the results are public, they're down in the description. You can look through them yourselves. Feel free to keep on submitting as well, because it'll only add to the spreadsheet of answers. We can get a more accurate opinion. As a community, we need to be more accepting and patient. The new devs are going to struggle to create something from the ground up for the first time, and we must do better at not shitting on anyone for honestly just giving a try. As much as the devs have lost a lot of players' trust, I don't think it's fair necessarily that they were shit on in the way that they were, because they're trying to do their best, making a game in their free time for us to play. Most of them don't even play it, they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. And I don't think it's necessarily fair to overly shit on them for them just trying their best. We need to give our developers a second chance, and I think the developers need to give the community a second chance. The community can tend to be a little bit hot headed and very blunt with their answers when it comes to feedback, and it's obviously demoralizing as a developer. We have to understand that they might not be able to fully express themselves. They don't know exactly what numbers need to be changed when it comes to spawn algorithms and weapon balancing and maps and things like that. But their feelings and how they view issues with the game still need to be considered, and they can't just be brushed aside. We can't be trying to push that away going forward. I'd really hate to see this game die, as it's brought a lot of fun memories for myself, and I made a lot of friends through just playing this game. Let's try to be a lot more agreeing with each other so we continue to enjoy PF and its comp scene. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to continue to submit responses, you can find the form in PFFL or in the description of this video, as well as the spreadsheet to where the answers are being updated whenever someone submits a new response. I hope we can continue to be more transparent, not just as staff and as management and as developers, but also as the community, because I think the community's opinion needs to be heard the most over just the staff and the people at the top. Because at the end of the day, the people at the top are a small group of people who shouldn't be making a decision that should be left into the majority of the people to make. Thank you.